you've been built to last. And so sports are, for me, I look at it as a way to, number one, not only keep your minds engaged, but also number two, to relieve of those extra energies that oftentimes unaleta kwa nyumba.
The show is called The N Villa Show, and our guest is Peter Karanja, a very educated man. He's talking about men's health and modern masculinity. So, Peter, I'd like to move slightly forward because time is not allowing us, but this topic it really are not. What role can sports, faith, and community play in men's healing journey? Because I've heard people saying sports is bad. And all that. There are people who are saying it's there. What role do you think this thing can play? Sports, faith, and
community. Let me start with faith. Let me start with sports. I started by saying that at Kilele Foundation we run a program called Sports Evangelism. And what we do through Sports Evangelism is that we talk about mental health, and we also talk about drug abuse. Because oftentimes those two things are intertwined. The moment someone struggles mentally, more often than not, their fallback plan is to drugs. And so, in our conversation, and the reason why we have that part in our programs is because we believe that it is through keeping our minds engaged in things that actually stimulate us that we're able to cope. I don't want to say deal, I want to say cope, because dealing is a different conversation altogether. But to cope with life stressors, why do I say deal? Why do I say cope and not deal? Because life will constantly throw things at us. You cannot entirely deal with all the stressors that life brings along. But coping means that regardless of what comes your way, you're able to actually cope with them. You know that you've been built to last. And so sports are, for me, I look at it as a way to, number one, not only keep your minds engaged, but also number two, to relieve of those extra energies that oftentimes unaleta kwa nyumba. You see, there are men who go to the pub every evening, and you think huyu mtu anapenda pombe sana, but truth of the matter is wanaenda kupush time. And I realize if I go home at 5, there's a very high possibility between 5 and 10 the chances of a conflict emerging somewhere. You know, so we tell people, why don't you substitute these 2 hours you go to the club or to the pub with a gym? Why don't you substitute? You used to play volleyball in high school. Why don't you look for a club within your locality that actually does volleyball? You may not actually be the one playing. You could actually volunteer to coach a team. And so sports for me is a coping mechanism that ensures that whatever you do during the day, there's something you do in between before you see, we wear different caps. During the day, you're an employee, you're a businessman, you're a doctor. There's a stress that comes with that cap. If every day of your life, once you've dealt with that stress, the stress that comes with that cap, the next thing you do is transition home. Where do you take that stress? And it becomes a cycle. But if you're able to create a distraction in between, it may not be every day, but 3 days in a week, I have a gym session that I attend. 3 days in a week, I have a sports session that I engage in. 3 times in a week, there's something that I do away from the norm. It is very easy for you to realize over time, there's just a way the body now becomes accustomed to this break. And so it does not automatically mean that you leave work, you go home, tomorrow you leave home, you go to work. You need to create something in between that is positive. Because if you don't create something positive, then automatically you fall to something negative. That is sports. Church. I take a lot of reservations with what the church has become today. Now, when we are doing these tournaments, the sports evangelism, we always go to churches and we share this idea. We're like, this is what we are planning to do, and we do want a partnership with the church. Sometimes the church is not eager. In fact, you end up getting more help from individuals than from church. But the church ideally is supposed to be a healing place. Someone told us that the healing balm of Gilead is not just a word. Church is supposed to actually play that role of healing. And so the church is supposed not only to embrace the healed, but also the sick.
Yes.
And so if you run a church, part of your greatest ministry should be, how do I now deal with these people who are struggling to actually come up of their mental uh, 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 issues? Because the focus can be so spiritual that you end up losing out on. You understand? There needs to be a balance between. There are so many programs within the church setting that focus on spiritual growth, but the people who are very spiritual in church but demons at home.
It's true.
You understand? Because we have become so spiritual in our approach to some things that actually require practical solutions, that you see a pastor who in church is respected and adored, but at home he is feared and hated because you've healed the spirit, but the mind is sick. And probably there's a reason why the Bible talks about the renewal of your mind, and his mercies new every morning. And so it is the church's role to also deal with the mental wellness of the man. Because again, until recently, we've not had programs that address the man in churches. We had so many programs that built the woman, but almost always didn't have a place for the man. But also in terms of percentage, if you go to any church today, just count the number of men who service the women. The women will always be more. And so that tells you, could be, we've also not created spaces for these men to come and heal, because the church should be a healing space. And so if a man comes to a church and does not feel like they belong, they won't come. And so the church has a central role to play towards building this man. Programs that build this man, programs that take away that you need to be a man angle and bring them to a space of, this is a safe space where you can heal and grow. And so the church, sports, and community. Now, community is very broad because it is within the community where you have the church, you have sports. But one thing that the community can do to help a man and to actually deal with this modern masculinity that has become toxic is to also look at a man from a point of look at a man from a point of consideration. Let's move away from this very judgmental approach to men, where you see an alcoholic and you see the bottle rather than the cause. And so if as a community we now also begin by looking at an alcoholic, for instance, a mental health issue from the root cause and not from the surface, not the symptoms, then maybe the community could also help towards building better men. But more importantly, as parents, and I keep going back to this, from the onset, if you're raising a son, it is your role for you to actually begin nurturing this son towards a community that is safe for them. Now, I saw a man recently record a video, and in that video, a girl was being eaten by Siaf behind there. I don't know if it has been trending. I don't know if you've seen that video. And so this man says, I have intentionally failed to help that girl because if this community found me undressing this girl here right now, come to Siafu, I'd have life sentence. And so that tells you something about the community and how it looks at a man. That the first judgment is you're evil. It is you now to justify yourself. The moment a color is looked at as black, before it can be turned around to see if there was an initial color that was mixed for it to become black, then you have already lost the plot. And so as a community, we also need to get to a point where we also look at men from a bit of give men a bit of credit. Let's not, sadly, I don't know if this is the right word to say here, but the narration that all men are dogs has become so ingrained in our minds that we are tasked with proving that we are not dogs. And so how unfair can a community be that you already considered a dog even before you barked? So it's up to you now to prove yourself otherwise. You understand?
I'm understanding.
And so it is the community's role, by extension, to appreciate, and I think that video should have been a wake up call. Of course, people gave different angles to it. Or you should have helped the girl first, or you should have done this and that. But this man was simply saying the world is cooked, and I took that statement with a lot of reservation. The world is cooked, and so what this man is trying to say is, even in a court of law, as a man, you will be looked at guilty until proven innocent, which is the contrast of what it should be. You should be innocent until proven guilty. And so the church, the community, and sports, if those three things were used towards building a man, I'm sure we would have a better community.
Viewers, Peter from Kilele Foundation. Peter, I want to give you this opportunity. Tell people how they can reach you in Kilele Foundation, because, wow, you have wisdom. The words which of the little time you've been here, you've educated us. Kindly tell us how we can reach you,
Okay.
and all that listening.
We on all social platforms, we are Kilele Foundation. That is on Facebook, on Instagram. We don't have a Twitter account, but on Facebook, on Instagram. On email, you can reach us at Kilele Foundation Info. Kilele Foundation Info. You can reach us on Instagram at Kilele Foundation Info. You can also call us. I know James would be more than willing to share our number in case of a personal concern. Now, at Kilele Foundation, we do mentorship to schools, mentorships to primary, high schools, and colleges. We also engage in individual counseling. So we have counselors within the foundation who can actually be able to deal with personal issues and also provide insights where someone may need insights. But more importantly, at Kilele Foundation, we also do sports evangelism. So every time we have tournaments, we encourage teams, especially of men, to just come, because beyond football, we also do talk about drug and substance abuse. We talk about mental health, mental wellness, and also talk about careers. And so if you would want to reach us because of any of those areas that I have mentioned, then feel free to always reach out, because we exist so that we can all make this world a better place.
And Peter, do you have a mobile number which you can share direct number?
Oh yes.
Kindly share it.
Yes. So if you don't to reach us on phone, you could call us on 0718. That is 0718 036 310. That is 0718 036 310. Of course, any day during working hours, you'll be able to reach back and get to discuss. That number is also on WhatsApp, so you can reach us via phone, or you can also WhatsApp us.
And remember, it's 254 Kenya, isn't it? 254? The number.
Yeah.
So, Peter Karanja, as in Villa Kenya, we're very, very grateful for you being here.
Sure.
You have taken your time from your busy schedule to appear here. So, as the show, we usually have gifts, hampers, which, first of all, we came up with the T-shirt. It's labeled in Villa Show, so that you can remember when you are doing sports, you please. We're really, really, really grateful for that.
Thank you so much.
Hope really. And also, being you are a very busy man, you bought your diary. It's inscribed your Peter Karanja Kilele Foundation and your handles. So we're really, really grateful. And viewers, kindly, Peter Karanja has given his information how you can reach him, especially Kilele Foundation. I've been going through the whatever the WhatsApp and all your handles. It's a very powerful group. And many viewers, if you haven't, kindly go to their website. There's a website.
Yeah,
and there's a social media.
Yeah.
So kindly reach them. And the show is called the N Villa Show. Today our guest was Peter Karanja, and we are talking about men's mental health and modern masculinity. So kindly, if you haven't subscribed, take this opportunity to subscribe to the show and hit the notification button so that anytime we upload new video, you get to see them. Once again, thank you for your time, Mr. Peter Karanja.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
Asante sana.
your time. Asante sana. See you in the next episode.
Okay.